You know Scranton, Pennsylvania from The Office. Paper reams, that's what she said, and Michael Scott confidently mispronouncing things. But here's what they never put in the script. The Electric City has been sending athletes to the Olympic and Paralympic Games for over 100 years. Athletes who broke records, athletes who made history, and at least one who celebrated winning gold by throwing a backflip. Today, we fix that. The first story doesn't start at a training facility or a high school swimming pool. It starts at 2 o'clock in the morning. Abby Peck was 4 years out of Skidmore College, working construction jobs and stamping shoe soles at a New Balance factory, when fate showed up at a convention. She rode for exactly 3 weeks in college and had always meant to do it again. Standing there at 2 a.m., talking to a woman in rowing sweats, she mentioned it. The woman looked her dead in the eye and said, "Are you going to talk about wanting to do this? Or are you going to do it?" Abby showed up at practice the next morning at 6 o'clock. 8 months later, she made the U.S. national rowing team. 8 months, when nearly every other athlete had been rowing since high school. Abby had no old habits to unlearn, just raw hunger, and she channeled it into 12 gold medals, 3 silvers, and a bronze at the United States National Championships, plus 5 medals on the international stage. Then came the Olympics, twice. In 1984, she walked into the opening ceremonies inside the Los Angeles Carlesimo, right beside a woman named Joan Benoit, who days later became the very first woman Olympic marathon champion in history. Abby was there for that parade. She came back in 1988 in Seoul for a second Olympic appearance. When a back injury ended her career, she earned a master's degree in exercise science, came home to the Scranton area to care for her aging parents, and in 2010 founded Pays Back, Physical Activity Interventions Surviving Beyond Cancer, a nonprofit using movement to help oncology patients rebuild their strength and reclaim their lives. She changed the game on the water. Then she changed lives off of it. Picture a 6-year-old at the Scranton YMCA, hanging around his mom's swim practices before he was barely old enough to be there. Fast forward 20 years, and that same kid is swimming 10 kilometers through the River Seine in Paris while the whole world watches. That's Ivan Puskovitch. The son of a swim coach, Ivan started competing at the Scranton Y at age 6. He was 9 years old when Michael Phelps won 8 gold medals in Beijing, and he thought, why not me? He swam through USC, transferred to West Virginia University, and kept his sights locked on Paris, even as his family faced real hardship, including housing instability that would have broken most people's focus. Ivan kept swimming. In 2024, he became only the 5th American male in history to qualify for the Olympics in open water swimming, an event that's only been part of the Games since 2008. He raced 19 of the world's best through the Seine. He's still competing, and he's just getting started. You'll recognize him the second you see him. Long, curly, flowing blonde hair halfway down his back. He looks like he stepped off a Viking longship, and he swims like it too. Now, a Scranton kid who spent his formative years in nearby Waymart, Pennsylvania, born missing his right forearm, who decided that was simply beside the point. Mike Miner started skiing at age 2, snowboarding at 7, and in his very first season of international competition in 2015, he won the overall World Cup title in the bank slalom. Not his second season, not after years of grinding up the ranks, his first. At the 2018 Winter Paralympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea, Mike Miner didn't just win gold in the men's bank slalom. He launched a backflip at the finish line just to make sure everyone understood the assignment. 2 days later, he came back and took bronze in the snowboard cross. 2 medals, 1 backflip, 1 forearm. The United States Olympic Committee named him Athlete of the Month. He's still competing and now lives in Finland with his wife and dogs, because apparently one snowy mountain range was never going to be enough for this guy. Now, here is a name every basketball fan should know and trace right back to Scranton. P.J. Carlesimo was born and raised here. He built a legendary coaching career and in 1992 landed on the most famous bench in history of sports, the United States Olympic Dream Team. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley. PJ was their assistant coach in Barcelona, a team that dismantled every opponent by an average of 44 points and introduced the world to what basketball at full power actually looked like. Scranton was on that bench in Barcelona. You might know Adam Rippon from Dancing with the Stars. He won, by the way. Or from Taylor Swift's You Need to Calm Down video. Or from guest hosting RuPaul's Drag Race. He is everywhere. But first, at the 2018 Winter Olympics, this figure skater from Scranton became the first openly gay United States athlete to qualify for the Winter Games, and the first to win a Winter Olympic medal. He also invented a jump combination now called the Rip-On Lutz, a triple executed with both arms raised overhead. It literally bears his name. Not bad for a kid from northeastern Pennsylvania. David Lettieri attended Scranton Prep, competed as a track cyclist at the 1988 Seoul Olympics, and the year before that helped set a United States national record and won gold at the Pan American Games. After his racing career, he became Lance Armstrong's personal mechanic at the 2000 Tour de France. If you know how that particular Armstrong story eventually unfolded, well, Dave now runs his own bike shop, Fast Track, in Santa Barbara, California. And Scranton's Olympic story goes all the way back to 1908, when a runner named John Halstead competed for the United States at the Olympic Games. The Wright brothers had only flown 5 years earlier. Scranton was already at the Olympics. And finally, our Scranton-adjacent honoree. While she was born in New Jersey and is not from Scranton, Sue Heon grew up in the Scranton suburb of Clark Summit, Pennsylvania, which is close enough that we are absolutely claiming her. A competitive swimmer, Heon was selected for the 1980 Olympic team, but due to the United States boycott by President Jimmy Carter, she was unable to attend the Moscow Olympics. In 1984, she again qualified for the Summer Olympics held in Los Angeles, California, in the United States. She won her heat in the preliminaries, but finished fourth in the final event of the women's 400-meter individual medley, about 3 seconds slower than her time at the Olympic trials. She was just under a second behind third-place bronze finisher Petra Zindler. From 1908 London to 2024 Paris, Scranton has been showing up at the Olympic Games for over a century, and almost nobody talks about it. That's exactly why we're here. Subscribe and share this with someone who thinks the most exciting thing to ever come out of Scranton is a Dundie Award. They need to know the truth. All roads lead right back here. I'm Miss Scranton, and I'll see you next week.